In the midst of one of the most volatile geopolitical crises in recent history, a striking and somewhat counterintuitive narrative emerges, one that challenges conventional assumptions about how states behave under extreme pressure. The ongoing conflict involving Iran, Israel, and the United States under Donald Trump has pushed the global energy system into a state of deep uncertainty. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow maritime corridor through which roughly 20% of the world's oil flows, has become the focal point of this crisis. Since late February 2026, military escalation following U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran has led to a dramatic disruption of shipping, with tanker traffic collapsing and global oil prices surging. Yet even in this environment of confrontation, certain actions have revealed a more nuanced strategic logic, particularly on the part of Iran. Reflecting on this, the speaker highlights what he sees as a remarkable demonstration of restraint and long-term thinking. He said, "We have to applaud the civilizational values and very deep understanding, strategic understanding of the Iranian leaders at this time of grave crisis." This observation gains weight when viewed against recent developments. Iran, despite having the capability to fully shut down maritime traffic, has instead adopted a selective approach. It has declared that non-hostile vessels may pass through the Strait of Hormuz under its supervision, even as tensions remain high in parts of the waterway are effectively under military control. This is not a trivial decision. At a time when global markets are already reeling, a complete blockade would have triggered an unprecedented economic shock. Instead, Iran appears to be calibrating its actions carefully, allowing certain energy shipments to continue while maintaining pressure on its adversaries. He said they could have easily been shished and refused passage for our LPG ships. But they did not do that. They allowed the ships to pass. Reports indicate that Iran has indeed permitted select fuel tankers, particularly those not linked to hostile countries, to transit the strait in what some observers interpret as a calculated gesture aimed at stabilizing markets and signaling openness to de-escalation. The speaker interprets this behavior as rooted in a deeper understanding of long-term relationships and geopolitical continuity. He said they understand the long-term value of our relationship, both in terms of our past and in terms of our future. In this framing, Iran is not merely reacting to immediate threats, but is consciously weighing the broader implications of its actions, balancing deterrence with diplomacy. He said they are not stupid enough to take petty vengeance at these times of difficulty. Now, that is strategy. This perspective stands in contrast to the widespread perception of Iran as an unpredictable or purely aggressive actor. Instead, the argument here is that Tehran is engaging in what might be called strategic restraint, leveraging its position without fully crossing thresholds that could trigger uncontrollable escalation. The speaker then shifts to a comparison with Israel, presenting a sharply different view of its strategic culture. He said a country like Israel, which has 6 or 7 people, has securitized itself. Though exaggerated in numerical terms, the statement underscores a widely recognized reality. Israel's national security doctrine is deeply entrenched, shaped by decades of conflict and a focus on rapid, decisive military action. He said its propensity is to go for conflict, to go to war, to wreak havoc. Death and destruction has ended in themselves. This critique reflects a belief that Israel's approach prioritizes immediate military objectives over long-term stability. In the current crisis, Israel has continued its campaign against Iranian targets, including high-profile strikes, such as the reported killing of a senior Iranian naval commander associated with operations in the Strait of Hormuz. Such actions, while aimed at weakening Iran's capabilities, have also contributed to escalating tensions and deepening the cycle of retaliation. The focus then turns to the Gulf countries, whose position in this unfolding crisis is both precarious and revealing. He said the Gulf countries do not have such capabilities, even though their population is far greater taken together, far greater than that of Israel. Despite their wealth and demographic weight, Gulf states have historically relied on external security guarantees, particularly from the United States. He said they believe that somehow the Americans would constantly use their military might to protect them from neighbors. This reliance, according to the speaker, has left them strategically vulnerable, especially as U.S. policy in the region has shifted over time. The speaker points to earlier developments, including nuclear negotiations with Iran and subsequent policy reversals, as evidence of this inconsistency. He said the Americans negotiated the nuclear agreement with Iran without consulting the Gulf country, effectively abandoned them. Under Donald Trump, U.S. policy has oscillated between confrontation and negotiation. While military pressure has intensified during the current conflict, including threats to strike Iranian infrastructure, the possibility of diplomatic engagement has never entirely disappeared. He said then you had Donald Trump. Donald Trump withdrew from the agreement, etc. And they thought that were now looking at a more secure environment. It did not happen. Faced with this uncertainty, Gulf states have attempted to recalibrate their approach. He said they re-engaged with Iran and built up positive ties with Iran supported by China. This reflects a broader regional trend in recent years where countries such as Saudi Arabia and others have sought to ease tensions with Iran, often with mediation from global powers like China. He said in this regard, they built up ties once again with Turkey. Also, their internal dissension, the boycott of Qatar, was ended quickly. These efforts signal a shift toward diplomacy and regional cooperation aimed at reducing dependence on external actors and building a more stable security framework. However, the speaker argues that these initiatives have not fully achieved their intended outcomes. He said, so they opted for diplomacy, but diplomacy did not give them security. Despite improved relations, the structural imbalance remains. Iran continues to possess significant military capabilities, including missile and drone systems that have been deployed across the region. He said the self-correcting mechanisms that would enhance their security and make them less dependent on the American that has not been achieved. As a result, Gulf states find themselves in a difficult position, caught between efforts at diplomacy and the realities of strategic vulnerability. Returning to Iran's role, the speaker offers a nuanced assessment of its military actions. He said, if I were to say that is why they find themselves as targets of Iranian iron, but they are incapable. They are not able to do anything effective in return. This suggests that while Gulf states may be targets of Iranian strikes, they lack the capacity for meaningful retaliation. At the same time, the speaker emphasizes that Iran's actions have been measured rather than indiscriminate. He said they have been moderate and cautious. Iran also objectively has been restrained and moderate. While Iran has launched attacks on ships and regional targets, damaging multiple vessels and disrupting maritime traffic, it has often stopped short of actions that would trigger a full-scale regional war. He said its attacks have been overwhelmingly symbolic. This characterization aligns with the idea that Iran is using its capabilities to send signals rather than to escalate uncontrollably. He said its effort has been to threaten the global energy market and raise the prices. Indeed, the economic impact has been profound. Oil prices have surged past $100 per barrel, and analysts warn that prolonged disruption could remove millions of barrels per day from global supply, creating one of the most severe energy shocks in decades. Finally, the speaker turns to the role of the United States and the possibility of de-escalation. He said, so Donald Trump comes to his senses and declares mission accomplished and goes in for a ceasefire and discussions, which should have been the first option in any case. This reflects a broader critique of conflict escalation, followed by eventual negotiation, a pattern that has played out repeatedly in international crises. At present, however, a definitive resolution remains uncertain. While there are indications of back-channel communications and proposed peace plans, Iran has rejected certain U.S. proposals and continues to assert its own conditions for any ceasefire. What emerges from this analysis is not a simple narrative of aggression versus restraint, but a complex interplay of strategy, perception, and power. Iran appears to be navigating a delicate balance, asserting control over a critical global choke point while avoiding actions that could isolate it further or trigger overwhelming retaliation. Israel continues to prioritize security through military strength, even at the risk of escalation. Gulf states are attempting to redefine their position, seeking autonomy while managing persistent vulnerabilities. And the United States remains a central, if sometimes unpredictable, actor in shaping the course of events. In this environment, every decision carries global consequences. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a regional flashpoint, it is a lifeline for the global economy. The choices made by leaders in Tehran, Washington, Tel Aviv, and across the Gulf will determine not only the trajectory of the conflict, but also the stability of the international system in the months ahead. The speaker's central message ultimately revolves around the importance of strategic thinking in times of crisis, of recognizing when restraint can be more powerful than retaliation, and when long-term interests must take precedence over short-term impulses.